Okay guys, so I have been accused of being a Nigerian prince. Not sure how Nigerian I look, but I think there's been a few guys online saying that I'm a scammer and all this. Obviously you guys know that I'm not a scammer. Thing is, you can't scam people for 5 years straight because you get reported. Your Stripe and your PayPal accounts will be closed down very quickly, so it's not something you can do for years on end. I've been doing this for years. So obviously, but anyway, what I do want to talk about though is stuff that you can actually achieve testosterone wise, because some people online seem to think that I claim that I can take people from 100 to 1200 within a few weeks. When have I ever said that? Never. But what I can do, and I've said this many times and I've done this many times because it's the truth, is take guys and take you from the 250 to 450 range to 8 to 900 in 12 weeks. Yes, I can do that. I've done that many times before. That's not hard. Well, it depends on your age and your genetics. Sometimes it's very easy. Sometimes it requires more work, but that is very, very, very doable. 100 to 1200 in 3 weeks. When have I ever said that? Some people are just stupid on purpose, and it's almost the cool thing to be the skeptic. It's almost cool to be a loser these days. It's a weird world we live in. As soon as someone does something impressive, physically, financially, it's almost cool to try and drag everyone down to your low level. Weird. But 300 to 800, very doable. That's what I have said. Now, the next big objection, this is where everyone in the comment section is always basically trying to imply that it's all genetic. It's like, oh my God, you guys, not you guys watching this, but people online, such losers. If it was all genetic, right, here's 3 basic logic tests. The first logic test is, when I went from, oh, how am I going to get around here? When I went from 400 testosterone to 950 in a few months, did my genetics change in a few months, or did my body fat percentage and diet and lifestyle and sun exposure change? If you know anything about genetics, genetics don't change in years or decades. They certainly don't change within months. Second logic test. Don't do this if you're a client of mine, but if you're not a client of mine and you're not going to be anytime soon, get fat as, get morbidly obese. Oh no, get your testosterone tested first and all your other hormones, then get fat, get really, really fat, then get the same things tested all over again, get fat as hell within 3-4 months, 6 months maybe, really pig out, see what happens to your testosterone. We already know what's going to happen. So and it's not just your test, it's your estrogen, it's all the other things, cortisol response. Everything gets worse. Did your genetics change in that 6-month period? No. Your body fat percentage did, and your hormones drastically changed as a result. Nothing to do with genetics. Third logic test. Men's testosterone levels have been declining year on year. This is a fact. It's been happening for a long time now. In the 1980s, they were about 40% higher for the typical guy when you average it out. Don't quote me on the exact numbers. I can't remember. It's 40-ish%. That's quite a significant margin. And again, you could argue that there's more environmental triggers that can set off certain genetics over a 40-year timeline, maybe. Yeah. But really, genetics, they change over many, many, many generations, like a long, long time. Genetics are not the primary reason that guys' testosterone levels are declining around the world. And yeah, everyone's genetics are slowly getting worse and worse and worse. No, everyone's slowly getting fatter. They're spending less time in the sun due to various reasons. They're either scared of the sun, which is ridiculous, or they're working online, inside, away from Yeah, spending less time outdoors. People are skinny fat. The food quality's worse. Not many guys are eating quality meat or seafood anymore. They're the real factors. And that's changed drastically in the past 40 years. Genetics have not. Oh, and another point. People are more stressed than they used to be. I don't think this online world of constantly scrolling and people getting ADHD more and more frequently now than ever before, things like that, I really don't think that helps. But I think generally speaking, when you're in a declining economy, the general theme is people have to work longer hours for less real pay after tax and adjusted for inflation. You've got less purchasing power and you're working longer hours for said less real money. That causes stress, especially if you're used to something a bit higher and you're just slowly getting worse and worse and worse. So your actual freedom and your quality of life and your freedom of time gets worse. That makes people stressed, and then you add kids into the mix, and then poor night's sleep. The whole cycle just gets worse. That has changed a lot in the past 40 years. Genetics is not the reason that 40 years ago the average man had 700 to 800 testosterone, there or thereabouts, and now the average man 40 years later, not 4,000, 40 years later, the average man has more like 400 or 500 or whatever the numbers are. I'm not looking at the stats online right now. That's not the reason. Genetics don't change that fast. Lifestyle, stress, body fat percentage, lack of sunlight, working hours, lack of sleep, that stuff changes really fast. And that's the real reason, obviously. Again, to come back to what is possible for you, what you're capable of, I never said 1,200 within 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. That's TRT, that's drugs. Naturally, you can get to 800. If your starting point was 250 to 450, you can get to 800 plus. I've done that, well, myself and with quite a lot of guys now, loads of guys. Some of them through clients, some of them just through applying the information in my ebooks. The ebooks are very good. They're priced a lot lower because they're ebooks, but it doesn't mean they're not good. Now, if you logically acknowledge that genetics are not your problem, and even if they were, there's nothing you can do about it. So going on about it like a loser online, it's like whining about, sitting at home making $1,000 a month when you could be working harder to fix that problem. You're just going to sit there and moan about genetics. Like, why would you do that? But if you acknowledge that genetics are not the real problem, which they're not, and that lifestyle is the real thing to focus on, click here, because there's 6 common testosterone mistakes. None of them are to do with genetics. They're all lifestyle things. They're all things that you can fix. They're all actions that you can take that actually empower you because you're in control of this stuff. And if you avoid these 6 mistakes, your natural testosterone levels will rise over time. Just watch. I think you'll find that video very useful. Definitely check it out.